real world experience that you didn't learn in a classroom.
Went to Dayton first and foremost for my undergrad, and I wanted to study engineering.
What excites you so much about the future of where this company's headed?
The people in that community are about growing and being better each day.
Welcome to Behind the Grind, a series that looks to uncover some of the stories behind some elite athletes, professionals, and coaches, exploring the mindset, the values, and the experiences that shape their success. I am your host, Will Hanke, and today we have a very special guest. Returning viewers should all be familiar with Shady Rays and their polarized eyewear. Today, I'm lucky to be here with a co-founder and COO from Louisville, Kentucky. Please give a warm welcome to Dan Ratterman. Dan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me today, Will. Really excited to be on here today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So before we get into things, obviously, you're a very successful person. I'm excited to hear some of your story, but really one of the most versatile people I've ever met. In the last probably 48 hours, I've discovered that you can juggle knives, you can do card tricks. We walk in the studio today and you riff off 3 songs on the piano. Where does that kind of like creativity come from, and what makes you just so interested in exploring different things like that?
That's a great question. A great one to start off with too. It's just kind of random. For me, I like to learn new things. And I find myself, for better or for worse, sometimes gravitating towards just kind of random things that I feel like I can just practice a bunch and maybe get good at. Sometimes those things are really useful, whether it's something in business or in basketball in the past, but other times it's something like juggling or piano that's really just kind of more of something fun. But yeah, I like to gravitate towards something that's new that I can learn, that I can do. And then sometimes it comes in handy, like when I walk in here and I see a piano and suddenly there's 3 songs to play.
Yeah. Does that curiosity, does that mindset kind of translate into business in any ways?
100%. 100%. The way it translates, I would say, is right at Shady Rays and in many aspects of life. Like for us, it's all about getting just a little bit better every single day. And we have a guy on our team that has this phrase a lot. It's that we're not trying to hit home runs, but every day we want to hit a single or a double. And if we can hit a single or a double every day, we're going to win the game ultimately. So it's, we'll set out to accomplish a new thing, to launch a new product, to improve some processes, to move buildings, open a new retail store. And it's just small things. The small wins are the things that add up over time and ultimately lead us to be successful.
Yeah, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about some of those singles and those doubles. Right now, I want to address that elephant in the room, and I'd love if we could see you juggle knives for the cameras, for the fans real quick.
Happy to do it.
All right, so more on just kind of your life outside of the business. You were playing semi-pro basketball like a year ago, and I know you had a high school career that I'm somewhat familiar with, but just kind of talk about that a year ago. How did you kind of get into that?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. So looking way back, like basketball has always been a part of my life in some way, shape, or form. Growing up playing, and of course played for Coach Klein at St. X, just like you did. And then after college, I spent a lot of time coaching 6th graders here in town. And it was awesome doing that for many years. But a couple years ago, there was like a semi-professional basketball team that came to Louisville, and I learned about it and saw that they were holding open tryouts. Now, notably, I had not played competitive basketball in like 13 years. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to go give it a shot. Why not? So went to it, and some way, somehow, the jump shot was going in that day. So went in there and was shooting good and playing pretty good, and ultimately got called back to another round of tryouts, got invited to training camp, made it through training camp, and at the end of the day, made the team. And it was a cool experience. It was something that, as a kid, I always wanted to, play professional basketball. Yeah. And this was, it was a way to keep basketball as a part of my life as I did it. And it was also at a time in my life right before like my son was born. It was kind of this window of time where I could pull it off on nights and weekends to go to practice, go to games, and it led to some cool situations, being able to travel a bit and get back in shape like I wanted to, and just go play again, which was I thought my playing days were over. I thought I was only into coaching, and kind of had one last go to go play a bit.
Yeah, not many COOs can say that they've played professional basketball. Really, all I knew about your basketball career was one of your former 6th grade players, Grayson Petty, likes to tell me you held your team's dunk record at St. X.
Yeah, I held the team's dunk record, but to be clear, our team had 1 dunk all season, and I had to dunk. So yeah, I led the team in dunks that year with my 1.
I think some of their new guys may have broken that record. I think Josh Lindsay might have that by now.
I think he breaks that in like every quarter of every game now, just
Probably,
about. So.
from what I see. So, one more thing before we get into things, I'd like to start with a would you rather question. Eric Wood is a friend of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're familiar with him. So I'd like to ask you, would you rather, as a man in business, would you rather own one company that grosses $1 million a year, or would you rather have 4 companies that over those 4 companies they gross $100 million in revenue a year, and why?
Wow, that is a great question. It's a hard question. It kind of depends on the season. So, I mean, in general, I would probably say 1, because then all focus can go into that one company, and has the best chance to make that company successful and make that company do as much good in the world as it possibly can be. That said, there's a lot of cool business ideas that always come up and come to mind, and the idea of having multiple ventures is also exciting at times. But I think if I were to just answer that with one answer, I would say one company and just go all in, making sure that one company is successful as it possibly can be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Attention, ladies and gentlemen. For a limited time only, Shady Rays is offering you 25% off their Frontier snow goggles. These next-gen products are built perfect for the slopes with quick swap anti-fog lenses and triple layer foam to keep you warm. On top of that, any snow purchase earns you 30% off all sunglasses site-wide. That means you can earn up to 55% off some of the most high-quality sunglasses on the market. Don't hesitate. Visit shadyrays.com today to take advantage of these limited-time steals. So let's kind of start, talk about where it started with your St. X background. We touched on a little bit, but talk about some of the relationships that you were able to build at St. X. It's such a special place with so many people in the city of Louisville, and just talk about some of those relationships you built through that community.
Oh yeah, I mean, my time at St. X was awesome. There's many people from St. X that I still keep in close contact with. One of them I would mention though is a guy, Brian Just, and he was a year ahead of me. He was on the basketball team, and he is currently the assistant coach for St. X, and just an awesome guy. And we've gone in and out of kind of communication over the years, but then over the last couple years, have worked closely together as he's taken off building his own business, and I've been honored to kind of help him, at certain moments along the way with that business. But that just kind of comes from the St. X community. There's a lot of incredible people that have been through St. X and kind of still hold true to those roots, and that's just one example of him and his company Dash Clip that he's running with some guys. That's been a great thing to come out of St. X in that community.
Yeah, and how did that time and your experiences at St. X, were there any ways in which it influenced the way you thought or the way you approached your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at St. X, it's a lot about working to be the best that you can be. And no matter what classes you're in, whether it's you're taking an art class or a history class or a math class, like the people in that community are about growing and being being better each day. And that's kind of similar to the attitude and mindset I was explaining earlier about, hey, how can we make this day better? How can we lean into the areas that we need to lean into to be as successful as possible? And that changes in business. Sometimes that's, hey, we need to lean into our products. We need to lean into our fulfillment process. We need to lean into our people. We need to lean into our marketing, right? And those can kind of change based on what the environment looks like and what the customer needs are. But ultimately, if we can really focus in on the most important things in the business, just like we learned at St. X, that's what can take us to the next level and separate us from our competitors.
Yeah. And learning so much there, your path of education, it did not stop. You've got several degrees from several different schools, Dayton, Michigan State, and then Harvard. What was the thought process going into each of those different schools, and why did you choose to get degrees from there?
Yeah, so went to Dayton first and foremost for my undergrad, and I wanted to study engineering. And Dayton has a great engineering program and is a great school overall. So went and visited there and studied industrial engineering and mechanical engineering, which was great. I've always had an interest in business, but took more the technical engineering approach, knowing that I'd still want to kind of get back into business, but with a bit of a different approach to it. Once I got into the real workplace, and I worked for GE Appliances here in town for a number of years, I continued to expand my education. And then upon joining Shady Rays in 2018, my focus at the time was in supply chain. And for me, I just wanted to make sure that I was learning everything that I could in supply chain, right? When I went from a large corporate business where there's a lot of kind of a bit of a safety net, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of people to catch mistakes and things. But when I went to Shady Rays, where we had a very small team, a lot more ownership and accountability to make sure that departments are doing things in the best way possible. And for me, I wanted to go learn and make sure that one, I knew everything that I could, and also make sure we weren't missing anything. So started with that supply chain education to just make sure that our supply chain is set up for success. Next we started expanding in international business. And that's when I was looking up, hey, what's the best certificate program for international business? And saw Harvard pop up and thought, well, let me do that. So that was an online program where I learned more about international business. We then continued to focus on executing our strategy. So I did another certificate program in strategy execution. But it's just kind of been these steps of looking at, hey, where do I feel like I need to grow? Where do I feel like I may be missing something? Where do I feel like the business needs something different or something better? And then I'll go dial into those things to try to be the best that I can be to make the biggest impact as possible. Yeah. It's kind of like juggling and piano, kind of the same thing. It's just like, hey, here's a new thing I can kind of really get into, and then go as far as I can and try to make the biggest impact that I can. Yeah,
it seems like you really, really know yourself and things you can improve on in order to affect the business and just the people around you and grow in that way. Shady Rays now has grown and scaled to such a large company, and congratulations on everything you've done there. But, it didn't start in a big boardroom. It didn't start with this kind of, with the scale. It started in your parents' living room. So could you kind of just take me back to how it got started and the story of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really goes back, 10 to 15 years, and it's looking at what was happening in the sunglasses industry at the time. And at that time, the vast majority of people were buying expensive sunglasses from big name brands. And so many people would get those sunglasses and they would lose or break them. They'd be out, maybe they're just driving to work, maybe they're hiking, maybe they're fishing, but they would get lost or broken one way or another. And that person would be faced with a dilemma, either to have to go buy another pair of expensive sunglasses or go to a gas station and buy a very cheap pair that likely will fall apart in a number of days. So my brother, Chris, really came up with the idea of, hey, what if we could solve this problem and create sunglasses that are similar quality to the big name brands, but offer them for a fraction of the price. And when a customer loses or breaks those, they can come back to us, easy as can be, and for a small processing fee, we ship them another pair. So it really solves that problem. And with each order, give back to the world, whether that's through meals to the hungry or play sets for children, find some way to make a positive impact in the world. And starting to push that forward and getting feedback from customers, people really resonated with this. Right? It's about solving a true real life problem of losing and breaking sunglasses, and this solved that problem. So it started with just that idea that quickly turned into, hey, we have some inventory, and generating a few sales. My brother is a great marketer and knows how to sell product to people, and started generating just a handful of sales. And at that time, our fulfillment center, if you would call it that, was the family living room. And if you can envision just a standard living room, and next to the fireplace, there's a little card table sitting there. And on the card table is a laptop and a little label printer and a little shelf with some sunglasses on it. And each day, there might be one order or two orders or maybe no orders, but whatever quantity there were, somebody, Chris or me or my mom or my dad, would pack up that order, put it in a box, and then at the end of each day, drive it to the post office and ship it to the customer. And that was really the business for a while. Around that time, I was studying industrial engineering. And if you're familiar with that, it's all about optimization and efficiency. So, I can't remember coming home for Christmas break one time, and my dad was packing up, a few orders. And I was like, this doesn't seem like it's perfectly optimized process. So I was like, Dad, pack a couple orders. I'm going to get a stopwatch, and I'm going to time you. I'm going to do a time study of this work. And, so I'm standing with my clipboard and my stopwatch, and I'm timing every little aspect of everything that he's doing. And I was like, all right, give me about 2 hours, and I'm going to make some changes here to make this a more efficient process. And he went to a different room. I got out the label maker. I'm labeling everything. I have this perfect flow from left to right of picking and packing and boxing and shipping. And then he came back in, and I timed him again, every aspect of it. And at the end of it, I was like, Dad, I just improved your process by like 300%. And he's like, Dan, I'm packing like 2 orders a day right now. So wasn't like overwhelmingly meaningful for those 2 orders, right? Saved a minute or so. But I was like, that's true. But once we have a lot of orders and we've grown and a lot of employees, like these small tweaks is what will make the biggest impact down the road. And that's what holds true today, right? And like I was saying about our team, we just work to make those small tweaks every day, just like you do on a basketball team on the basketball court. Right after a game, you're looking at film, you're thinking, do we need to get just a little bit better at shooting and spend time shooting free throws? Do we need to be blocking out better? Do we need to be passing better? Right, to find how you can improve as a team to ultimately have your best chance to win.
Yeah, and just going through those experiences, I'm sure there's so much you learned in the real world experience that you didn't learn in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Could you kind of talk about some of the different things that you were able to get out of the real world experience and the value also in education and in that real world experience?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, a lot of great real world experience that I've learned myself is through coaching basketball. Like I said, I've coached, 6th grade teams and 8th grade teams. And what I find is there's so much overlap between that work and running a business. And the reason I say that is because what it really comes down to is in both, you're working with a group of individuals who are working together to accomplish one common goal. And whether that's a group of people on a basketball court, right? You need to know who are the people that are on the team. You need to know which position is best for each person. Who's the person that should be the point guard and make decisions on that first pass? And who are the people that should be down on the block just posting up and shoot any 3-pointers to get the right people in the right seat. Same thing in business. You're looking at your departments. You're looking at the parts of the business and making sure that the right people are in the right seat so that their specific, unique abilities are set and in the right areas of the business to make them the most successful, make the business the most successful. So there's been just so many learnings from that, from coaching that overlap to business for those ways. In addition to that, it's like when you think about practice and you think about games and, you may be in a game and you may run a play 3 times and, a play in a basketball game is so similar to a process in a business. If you are playing in a basketball game and say you try to run a play 3 times and you never score on it, you have to look at that and think, hey, why did we not score 3 times? Is the play wrong? Is this the wrong play? Should we scrap this play? Or is the play perfect, but the players just didn't run it right? Mm-hmm. They weren't in the right spots and the timing wasn't right. Right? Your steps at the practice the next day are very different based on the results of, why you think that play didn't work. If the play's right, but the players didn't run it right, well, that next practice, you want to be there. You want to be making sure the timing is right. You want to get guys in the right spots to run it successfully to have a chance for success. Sometimes you look at it though and think, this is the wrong play. We don't have the team for this play. This isn't right. And then it's a different kind of strategy that you take. Same thing in business, right? If we have times where, right, maybe Black Friday wasn't executed as well as it could be. Hey, is that because we weren't running the right play in business, or do we need to kind of relook at the work and responsibilities people have in order to make it more successful the next time around?
And so obviously when you started this company with your brother and with your family, you clearly saw a vision in which this could expand and you could have an impact on people and really build something special here. But was there a moment that kind of affirmed that, a moment where you really started to see that, we're on the verge of this is going to be something special? And did that at all change your mentality towards how you approach the business?
Yeah, that's a great question because there's kind of this realm of like some of those moments happen many times or still happens. It's kind of like, some people will ask sometimes like, hey, was there a moment of like, oh, wow, we made it? And I would say I still don't necessarily feel like that. Like I don't want to feel like that because I always feel like there's that next level that we can hit, whether that's a larger business or more stores, or that's just being better at what we do every day. So there's always a level of there's more to do and never a feeling of complacency or contentment of like, okay, cool, we can take the foot off the gas now. Like we're always pushing for that next one. But that being said, there are also a lot of moments along the way where we were like, hey, actually, this is pretty cool. This is, we've reached at least kind of that next tier. And, a simple thing can be, seeing Shady Rays on random strangers, right? For a while, that never was really the case. And then, there became some times where, you go to the zoo or you go to a basketball game and it's like, hey, there's a person I've never met that's wearing Shady Rays. Or I'm on a vacation in Florida and there's a random pair of Shady Rays, right? So it's like, oh, this is cool. They're actually like in the world. We knew we were shipping them out, but like now they're actually there. There's been some big milestones with, opening up new buildings, new headquarters that, moving from the living room to a fulfillment center, moving from that first warehouse to the next one. Like that's a very physical way to see that growth. But, it's interesting. That question kind of makes me think of this. It's, some people will be like, wow, Shady Rays is an overnight success. And, that couldn't really be further from the truth. Mm-hmm. It's not if somebody thinks it's an overnight success, they probably just came across the brand recently, right? What people don't see are the early mornings and the late nights and the, earlier days of the business when nobody knew the word Shady Rays. But my brother Chris, myself, other early members of the team were working really, really hard to build the company, to build the brand, to build the processes in order to become something bigger. But that's the work that's just as meaningful as the work we're doing today, because it built the foundation in a time where there wasn't the output that we were really looking for, right? We were just trying to build, ultimately leading to where we are today and where we're wanting to get to the future. So it's just a continuous push to just reach that next level and just become a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. And as you've grown this business and you can where it is today, how would you best define your role as COO? In our program, in the Louisville basketball program, we would define it as your 20 square feet. The things that you do well in your position. What kind of value can you bring to the to the bigger program? And so, how would you define your role and your 20 square feet?
Yeah, that's a really cool way to think about that. The 20 square feet. I might have some questions about that after this, but it's a fantastic question because it's changed over time. So back in 2018, the only thing I really cared about each day was, did we pack out all the orders? Right? Hey, we have 20 orders right now. Did they go out the door? That was basically the most important part of my job. And then it transferred into really focusing in on our supply chain and making sure we have the right inventory at the right time and protecting cash flow versus inventory availability. Then spent a lot of time with product development and kind of how we work with suppliers to develop product. And over time, it's included HR and customer service and retail operations. But today, right, we're a bigger, complex organization with a lot of awesome team members that are driving the business. So ultimately, I think if I were to really distill down on what's the most important thing for me to do today for the business, it's doing anything that I can to help make sure that the members of our team and departments of our team are working together towards one common goal. And now that we have over 150 employees and we have people that are doing incredible things in incredible ways all around the country, it becomes even more important that we all are aligned on what we're actually working towards. Because it's a powerful thing when all these people can be working together to win the game. But when you get people that maybe with the best of intentions are kind of going a different direction, it can slow down the whole organization. So today I just work primarily to make sure that we have alignment across the business, to make sure that we're all together and aligned to get where we want to go.
Yeah, making sure everybody is on the same page. You've got so much talent and a lot of passionate people in one building, but right. Making sure that you're all working towards one common goal.
Exactly.
And with that, I'm sure goal setting is a huge part of that day-to-day process. Could you kind of talk about how you go about goal setting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it starts with looking forward. It starts at looking, where do we want to be in, it could be the end of this year, it could be in 3 years, it could be in 5 years. And we're often looking 3 years ahead, but it's, hey, let's stop for a minute and let's take a moment to look at, painting a picture of what the business, what we want the business to be in 3 years. And then it's looking at, okay, what does that mean we need to do? What are the top goals to accomplish to get us where we want to go? It's, the analogy we make at times is kind of like climbing a mountain. It's like, first we have to decide which mountain peak are we climbing. Is that mountain in Antarctica? Is it in, somewhere in California, right? Very different mountains. We have to choose which mountain we're climbing. Then we have to make our map, right? And that's the critical piece is on that map. What are the main things that we need to do? Do we need to prepare to climb up a waterfall? Do we need to prepare to, swim across this river, right? But we got to map it out so that we are prepared and ready to get to the top of that mountain when we want to be there. So for us, what that looks like in a business sense is we use a variety of tools, but one of them is a tool that lays out goals. It lays out the specifics of that goal, right? So if somebody might say, oh, we want to have a great Black Friday. Okay, great. Well, what are the KPIs for that? What's the revenue? What's the profit? What's the speed? What's the deliverables to make that successful so we can gauge whether or not it was successful? We then look at why that goal is important. Is the goal to ultimately just help the customer? Is it to help for a better employee experience? And then we break it out into quarterly milestones. And we look at each quarter of the year, what are the major things that need to happen during that quarter in order to ultimately achieve that goal? And myself personally, I post this on my wall. I see it every single day. And that way in a world of chaos, in a world of distraction where there's always a million things happening, in any which direction, I know I can't do everything. But what I do know is that I'm going to make sure that these 5 to 8 things that I have posted will get done and will get done well. So that when I get to the end of the year or the end of the 3-year period, I don't look back and think, man, I worked so hard, but really sure I really accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I want to make sure I at least start with doing the most important things, and everything else is a bonus. But that's worked great for me. It's worked great for our team, and that level of visibility is the thing that kind of sets it apart from any other goal setting systems.
Yeah, I really like that analogy used with the mountain peak. There's a lot of, and there's, of course you have to choose first which direction you're going to go, and then just understanding that it's going to be quite the journey. There's going to be a lot of milestones along the way, but sticking to that process that it's kind of your job to kind of put together and focus on is really the way you're going to get things done. Do you have a name for the system of the goal setting? Is there an official name for that?
Yeah, so the one that I use, it's called Visical.
Okay.
And it is a physical board that goes on the wall. There's a large one and a smaller one, and it's there's a website called getvisical.com. And yeah, it's a physical product that kind of walks you along. It just, a simple product, but puts your goals on, breaks them down, has spaces to put the milestones and the status. And that's the product I use. My wall in my office is covered with these boards, one for work, one for personal, one for family. And it's been extremely helpful for me.
Yeah, that sounds efficient. And
Yeah.
I'll definitely take your word for it. So I might look into that. So there's a lot of responsibilities, but I'm sure there's so much you enjoy about the day-to-day process. Can you just tell me maybe your favorite thing that you enjoy about what you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, like something that's so important for the business and something that I truly enjoy is just the aspect of people. And we have, when I think about people, I think about kind of three different types of people. One is our customer. And I enjoy this because every day with every order that comes through, we're serving a customer. We have somebody on the other end of that computer screen or phone screen that's put their trust in Shady Rays to deliver on what we say we're going to do, which is get a high quality pair of sunglasses in their hands that we back up like no other company does. And, we get to, as a business, do our best every day to focus on the customer and to do things that ultimately give them the best experience, right? That may be as simple as, hey, we are shipping your product to you fast and accurately. It may be, hey, customers are wanting a certain color or a certain new style of sunglasses, so we're developing that. It may be that somebody wants, different ways to contact us, for example, right? Maybe it's easier for them to call us or chat or email, and we want to have the right ways to make the customer experience as easy and seamless and helpful as possible. So I love being able to work with customers. That even goes as far as physically talking to customers. Last year, I looked up our top 10 customers ever who have placed the most orders or spent the most money with Shady Rays and just called them. Remember, we spend so much time serving our customers. I thought, let's just see who these people are. So I called the top 10 customers that we have and had incredible conversations. I mean, there's people that have placed 50 or 60 or 70 orders for Shady Rays that live in random parts of the country that know no employees at Shady Rays, but yet they're like so passionate, diehard customers for us. And talking with them is so energizing to know that people are out there really, as part of the brand, engage in the brand and love what we're doing and appreciate all the work that our team's putting in. The next group of people is our team. And our team is incredible, right? I mentioned that it has gone from very small to, over 150 people now. And we have people in like 26 different states and so many people that are passionate about what they do. They want to do the right thing. They want to help people. And many of our employees, when we first hired some of these employees, we weren't looking for long, expansive experience. But the people that are successful at Shady Rays are the people that do the little things right. They do the fundamentals right. They're the people that show up on time every day. They're the people that come in and want to do the right thing. They're a good teammate. They're working with people around them and aren't bringing in all their personal drama, but are working together to accomplish something. And they just want to do the right thing. Same thing like a basketball team. You want your team to be focused and work together, whether they're a starter getting 30 points a game or there's somebody who's more of a practice player. It doesn't matter. Whether it's a manager, that's anybody or a coach, everybody needs to work together, right? And we were looking for those same attributes of people. And some of the early employees that we have had that can come in and do the small things right, those are the people that are now some of the top leaders within our business and continue to be examples for other employees that we have. So I feel honored and thankful to get to work with the people on our team across all levels and all departments, because we have truly some of the most incredible people out there working for Shady Rays, continuing to work for Shady Rays, showing up every day to move the business forward. And it's inspiring for me and inspiring for the people around them. And then lastly, the third group of people are the people that we give back to. And that started from day one. From the very first order of Shady Rays, we donated 10 meals to fight hunger in America. And over the course of the business now, we've donated over 26 million meals to fight hunger in America, which is awesome, right? And it makes these days where, right, we have great days and we have hard days. And when there's days that are more challenging or have different struggles to work through, it's encouraging and powerful to know that, we're not just selling sunglasses, but we're actually making a positive difference in the world for the people who need it most. And meals is a big part of what we do, but we also do a lot with helping children in the U.S. We have built many playsets for children with cancer across the United States, and we both support those builds financially, but we also physically build them. We, myself, my brother, and about 15 of our team members, we went to our retail store in Lexington a couple years ago and took about 4 hours and physically built a playset in front of the store. And at the end of those 4 hours, a 3-year-old boy named Logan, who has leukemia, pulled up in a limo, him, his sister, and his parents. They get out of the car. He gets to see the playset. We've all written inspirational messages on it. We have Ninja Turtles all over the playset because that's his favorite toy. And, in that moment, right, earlier that day, he was at the doctor. Later that day, he was going to be at the doctor. But for those 30 minutes that he got to open that door and go play on this, nothing but smiles. And he's there. His parents are watching them. They're feeling the joy and the happiness. He's having a great time. His sister's having a great time. And, not only is that so powerful for Logan, who's actually able to receive this, but, seeing the looks of the faces of his family and friends, of our employees that are there physically creating this experience for Logan is a really powerful thing. It's something that, helps show our team and our customers, and most importantly, the people we're helping, that, hey, we're actually here to make a positive impact in the world.
Yeah, I just think your commitment and your desire to help the community is just so admirable, especially like you mentioned, it wasn't something where it started a couple years in, where you're like, once we build this thing, then we'll start looking out for other people. No, from the second you built this thing, we're going to build this on the foundation of taking care of other people and making an impact in the community. And I think that's just a testament to who you all are and who the leadership of this company and how you've been able to grow this thing. I think those correlate very much. And I'd like to ask about the second group of people you mentioned, the people on your team, the people you work with. How important is it to take care of the people in your company, and how do you kind of see that pay off? You taking care of them. How do you see that benefit their lives and also the company?
Yeah, I mean, it's crucially important to take care of any employee that we have. I mean, we have people that will come work for us, and some people, it's cool when we hear comments. We've heard a few people say this. They say, "Hey, this is the only job I've ever had where when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, I'm not dreading the day. I more happily get up." And little things like that, right, where people actually enjoy a lot of their job, which is not always the case in a lot of industries or professions or businesses. But yeah, I mean, being able to support the team that we have and continuing to, hire and bring people onto the team and be a part of what we're doing is extremely energizing, extremely exciting, and something that, is important for the business, but important for the team, right? We want to grow. We want to bring on more people in different parts of the business to be able to help provide great customer experiences. And as we've been able to grow and provide more of an opportunity for people, it's a core part of what we do, and a core part of what success looks like for us is not just selling more and getting more sales, but also creating a better work life for as many people as we can here locally and across the country.
Yeah. And through valuing your customers and making such an impact on the community, like I said, you've scaled this company to where it's at today. What has been the hardest part of doing that, or maybe something that you underestimated as you really started to grow the company?
Yeah, so with each level of growth, there's new bottlenecks, there's new challenges that come up, and there's been a handful of challenges across the board, right? One example that comes to mind is a few years ago, we were launching, our big product launch for the year. New product, new innovative product, and we had 14 pallets of this product, right? Tens of thousands of units showing up, and we were going through it, and every one of them had a little issue with the lens. Something that wasn't that noticeable. It wasn't like these were broken in half. We can say we can't sell these. It was something that if we were to have 10 people try them on, 8 of them probably wouldn't even notice the problem, right? But we were forced with a dilemma on what do we do with this product? Because there was definitely an argument that we should still sell it. And financially would be the best to sell, right? Most customers probably would never even know the difference. But for us, what we've always done and is proven to be successful for us is it goes back to thinking about the people. And in this case, it was thinking about the customer. What is best for the customer here? And it wouldn't be right for us to knowingly send a pair of sunglasses to a customer that isn't perfect. So we made the difficult decision there to say, hey, we're actually going to scrap all this product, and we launched it the following year. But small decisions like that was a big decision, but decisions like that where we prioritize the people over profits is what really sets us apart and allows us to do things that customers recognize and ultimately pays off in the long run. Another example I think is a big challenge through COVID. COVID brought us challenges to many businesses and many organizations across the world. And, for us in the e-commerce business, it was a time where when COVID hit, we were fortunate that actually about 5 months before that, we had reinvented our supply chain and went on to a new kind of inventory management methodology, which led to us ordering a larger shipment. So coincidentally, just before COVID hit, we actually had just received the largest shipment that Shady Rays had ever received of sunglasses. COVID strikes, everyone is dealing with supply chain issues. All the news stations talk about supply chain issues. Meanwhile, we were sitting on more inventory than we'd ever had. At the same time, there were so many customers or people in the nation that were laid off from work. We're still receiving a paycheck, but as they're laid off from work, there's more people on social media more often. And because of that, it made advertising on social media a lot easier and a lot less expensive because social media ads are based on like a supply and demand. That's how it's priced. So it created this kind of strange dynamic to where we could actually scale our social media advertising. We had the inventory to support it and allowed us to actually outpace a lot of other e-commerce companies in the space. Following that year, we then landed on Inc. 5000, fastest growing companies in America, one of the fastest growing companies in Kentucky, and really kind of took us to the next level. But it comes from a mindset of being flexible and being agile, right? We use this analogy sometimes to where, large corporate businesses are kind of like a cruise ship in the ocean. And when a storm comes, like they may not be rocked off their path that much, but they also can't really turn out of the way. They're just kind of going. For us, we're more like a speedboat. A storm may come in and may have more of an effect on us, but we can also turn and find what direction is best for us. So, right, we've continuously proven to do that time and time again to where there's some challenge that comes up or there's something in the industry that may pose some kind of threat or some kind of struggle. And we very quickly see what the situation is, understand what our options are, and then make the calculated decision to go with the option that's going to help us be as successful as possible. And that's proven to be success, is being okay with making those changes, to accepting that the route we're on maybe wasn't perfect, but to quickly get onto that right path to get us where we want to go.
Yeah, and it sounds like, just on how you're talking about it, you approach all those challenges as opportunities, where your company's going to be put in a spot where things might not work how they've always worked. So you've got to face that, and you've got an opportunity to change and then ultimately grow.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as failure in these, right? Anytime there's something that might be considered a failure, it's a way to learn. It's a way to understand what we need to do differently next time, right? We simplify this with the team a lot, and it's that, how do we determine what we're going to do next year? Well, we look at everything we're doing. We find the things that are going really well, and we figure out how we can do more of those things. And we find the things that we are not doing well or not happening like we want, and we do less of those things. And ultimately, right, if we can just kind of direct our efforts and our resources towards the thing that are working for us, then that's amazing. Right? That's going to get us where we need to be. And that works for us.
And then one more question just about Shady Rays. Looking ahead, what excites you so much about the future of where this company's headed?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that's exciting. We have done a great job of building a pretty good presence across the nation, but especially in some certain hotspots across the country. And as we look forward, for one, we're always coming up with new product. We have some really awesome product that's come out recently. We have a line specifically for golfers with lenses made for golfing. We have a line for fishermen with lenses designed to see certain types of fish and certain types of water that are extremely great. And we're always listening to our customer, right? We're seeing what do people want next so that we can design the products that actually solves a problem for the customer. So some great products coming in that'll be coming out this coming summer and every summer, after that, always in the development process. And then we also just work to be where our customers are. I'm excited about how our retail stores have grown, how our retail stores will continue to grow, so that ultimately, right, when we want to be in the right place at the right time. When our customer is needing sunglasses, we want to be able to be there for them, and we have some cool ways to be able to do that. And then the last one is around how we're giving back to the community. So we're bringing on a new partner this year, and what we're doing is providing specifically meals to children on weekends here in the Louisville community, and doing a lot of that to where children that may not have a lot of food at home we will be getting them meals on Friday afternoons at school to make sure they have food over the weekends.
Wow.
And we're doing that in a really, really big way this year. That just actually started. We started officially going live with that actually just in the last couple of weeks. But it's a really cool way to do something locally to help the children in the community that really need it the most in a very basic and simple way.
That is just so cool. And it's cool to see, there's going to be ways where Shady Rays is really going to make a huge impact on this city. And it already has, and will continue to. I think that's a super noble way to go about it.
Yeah.
Aside from Shady Rays, also those new products he's talking about, shadyrays.com, check them out. They're going to be coming out soon. And I want you guys to go check those out. Dash Clip, you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned Brian Just. That is an opportunity. That's something that you chose to involve yourself in. I just wanted to know, in general, what do you look at when you evaluate new opportunities, to dip your toe in? What are some of the questions you ask and some of the things you look for in those opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, so in this case, like it's again a lot about the people. So like in this case, right, Brian is an awesome guy. Brian is a very, very hardworking guy who, when he's in something, he's in it.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, right.
That's my dude.
Yeah, exactly. So, talking with him, initially just because we're friends, right? And talking about, hey, business idea, just going back and forth in business ideas and got to a point to where, his idea of Dash Clip really like it had some legs to it. It's like, this could be something that really could solve a problem for people. And it's cool to see how the business has evolved some from, initially started with just selling wallets, but now, has tags, and it's very focused in the golf space to where, country clubs that have golfers come through, they have a bag tag. And now Dash Clip is able to provide a really, really high quality and also customized tag for these bags that give the country club a great experience. It can pull people back into their club to buy their things, and is a unique kind of offering that really doesn't exist in the market. So in this case, it's the passion of the founder and the co-founder in this case, but also with an idea that actually really has a good chance to go somewhere. And credit to Brian and the rest of the Dash Clip team. I mean, wow, what's been accomplished in 1 year is really phenomenal, and is on track to have an even more phenomenal year coming up. So been exciting to be able to help a bit there where I can, and just kind of see how that's grown and taken off, and been able to really make a big impact across a lot of country clubs and other people in industries across the country.
Yeah, the thing really has grown in the last year, and it's really a special thing to see because I had the experience of seeing how it got started and just the values on which this idea was built, and the impact they're making on people is really, really a cool thing. So you mentioned your first son, Drew. You had your first kid. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's your favorite thing to do with your son?
Oh gosh, it's.
You don't juggle knives with him, do you?
I keep my distance when I juggle knives. Yeah,
good.
I'll teach him how to do that one day. We'll probably start with just tennis balls or something, but it depends. Drew's awesome. He's so much fun. He's a year and a half old, and every day's something new with him. And it's just being able to come home from work or just any time really, whether we're just hanging out, playing in the playroom, or we're running around, just swinging on the swing, pulling him around in his wagon. Playing with the dog, it doesn't really matter. It's like such an incredible way to look at just like the simple things that mean so much. We, some of the best time is just hanging out, doing nothing, and listening to him, try out new words, or, me and Drew, and my wife, we'll be out just at a park. We'll be out just, in the backyard, and they're out with friends or family. And yeah, getting to see him just interact with people and just, grow a little bit is truly incredible.
Is there any ways in which starting a family has just kind of changed your perspective on life as a whole, or just maybe talk about how the work-life balance has kind of shifted since having your first son and starting a family?
Yeah, I mean, it really just emphasizes the importance of like the work-life balance, right? And obviously, right, work is extremely important to me for many, many reasons, but ultimately, like family is just, the most important thing. And being able to really be present and be with my family, and a lot of the after work on the weekends, anytime really, like it puts things in perspective of what really matters the most. And that time with family is just some of the most special time that I have. And as I talk to other business leaders, I know a lot of people kind of struggle to find that right balance between work and life. And for me, that's something always on my mind, always making sure that I'm not gonna get too dialed into any certain areas to where I suddenly anything happens at the expense of spending time with my family.
So has starting a family and having your first son, has that changed your perspective on life at all, or maybe just affected your work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, for me, with my family, the most important thing is around being present in what I'm doing. And for that time when I'm home and I'm with my family doing something fun, like at a St. X basketball game or sitting around at the house or in the backyard, being present is the most important thing. And making sure that those moments I'm not distracted thinking about something that happened at work or thinking about something else, but just making the most truly of every moment that I have with family, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. When I'm older, down the road, and I look back, I won't remember all the tweaks I did in an Excel spreadsheet, but I will remember the time and the experience that I've had with my family and the people that I love most around me.
Yeah, and I think it's so underrated, that skill of being present,
Mhm.
when you've got so much going on in your life, but ultimately you have to understand what's most important.
Mhm.
And so just really being able to be where your feet are at all
Mhm.
times and give everybody your 100%.
Mhm.
And I know you do that with your son, and that's really a beautiful thing. All right. So before we wrap things up, I'd like to bring in the Dash Clip Phone a Friend segment. Obviously, I don't need to tell you about Dash Clip, but Dash Clip, it's a lifestyle wallet company. We've just talked about it. They're continuing to grow. It's a really, really special group of people behind it. So go check out their line of products at dashclip.com. For our Phone a Friend segment, who are you going to be calling today?
I will call former U of L player and coach David Paget.
That's I'm excited to talk to him. Big East All Tournament selection when he coming transferred in from Kansas, and then had a big impact at Louisville, and then was a head coach for a full year. So let's get him on the call, see if we can. Hopefully he's not busy right now.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, I was a little bit younger, during 2017, but I remember him for just being 6'11", standing on
Yeah.
the sidelines.
This is good. You want me to put up here or anything? Or?
That's all good right there.
Hey, David, how you doing? I'm here with Will Hanke in a podcast.
Coach, how you doing? I'm doing well. How are you? Hey, it happens. We'll bounce back from it. Just real quick, I got a question for you. During your year as the head coach at Louisville, what was your favorite game during that stint? Mm. Yeah, those are both big time games. I remember that Indiana game, and yeah, Ryan McMahon, not known for his two-way presence, but made a big play in that game, and he's a Louisville legend, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, those were good ones. So.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you answering and being a part of this.
No, absolutely. And good luck with the rest of the season. Please tell your dad I said hello as well.
Hey, will do. I'd love to have you on at some point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Just let me know.
Heck yeah, thank you. We'll stay in touch. Thank you so much.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, David.
Great dude, man.
Awesome guy.
Great dude.
Awesome guy, and a great financial analyst and personal finance manager as well. So shameless plug for David Patchett there.
Absolutely versatile, just like yourself. No,
Yeah.
no piano, but
That's right. That's right.
And just so before we get out here, I've got one last question. What is one thing that you wish a lot of people would understand that maybe most people don't see about starting something from nothing like you did? What's one thing that you wish everybody knew going into that?
Yeah, I think, what comes to mind for me is that the good moments are really, really good, and the harder moments are way harder. When I think back comparing to kind of the corporate life that I was in, because I had a corporate role for a while, and when there was wins, like they were pretty cool. When there were losses, like it's not that big of a deal. When it's a small business trying to grow it, those things have a much greater impact. So usually that works in favor as a growing business. Like that's awesome the majority of the time. When there's a struggle, there's a challenge, you got to solve it. The only way is through it, right? So I like that because it just kind of forces us to solve problems and to work to improve. But that also can be a lot of weight and be a lot to work through together as a team. So I would just put that out there to be aware of that for anybody that is looking to start or grow a business, of just be prepared for the high highs, but also be prepared for the challenges that don't have a way other than just simply going through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people would overlook that, and there's obviously you got to have a vision in mind. You have to have a good product, but ultimately it's about who can handle things the best, who can handle that adversity and respond from it. In basketball and Louisville, we say E+R equals O. There's an event that you can't control. You have to control your R, which is your response, and that's going to determine the outcome.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's something that brought that to my mind. But I think that's super insightful looking at it that way.
Yeah, love it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, I've had an unbelievable time sitting here and talking with you and just getting to know your story. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Yes, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode of Behind the Grind. Tune in to the Shady Rays Hints of the Week coming up this week. You can get a guess at who next week's guest feature will be. But for now, this has been Behind the Grind. I am your host, Will Hanke. Keep on grinding.